You see this nasty looking water? It could be exactly what your plant needs.
This will make your plants explode with growth.
Ribidi bidi bamba doom. Ribidi bidi bamba doom bamba doom bamba doom bamba doom banga doom banga. Jesus love is bubbling over.
Welcome and welcome back to another gardening with Stacy. So how I go about feeding my plants in this extreme heat, so much so that my garden keeps thriving despite the extreme temperatures. Alright, first of all, you can see that I have these containers with my liquid fertilizer. So as you saw earlier, I have kitchen scraps with water inside here. I also added some manure. I added some coffee grounds and I added some Epsom salt. Now, the kitchen scraps are basically leftover vegetables, spoiled fruits. Now, at one point, some of you would have seen where I put the kitchen scraps into mesh bags, laundry bags, before putting them in the barrel with water. But in recent times, I went back to what I started out with initially. So as you see now, everything is just in the water as is, no bag, no nothing. And that's simply because, in my opinion, what I discover is that it's a lot more richer like this. Because I've been doing this for years. And like I said, at some point I started using the mesh bag. So that was just to make my life easier, where the mesh bag was inside the barrel. I just grab the liquid and I'm whoosh out there feeding my plants. The only difference with this now is that yes, my life is made it's not so easy, right? But that is why I have several barrels, so that feeding my plant will come with a bit more ease doing it like this. So what I do is I strain. That is how I started out, and it's quite fine. It keeps me active, and I only do this once per week, so it's not a biggie. But if you find that, that's too time consuming for you and you're using up too much energy, then by all means, put a mesh bag inside, add the kitchen scraps. When you're ready, just grab the liquid and you go. You don't have to strain. But based on my experience, I want to go with this. All right, and it has been working wonderfully for me, as you can see. Now, a few recurring questions I always get is, how long do I brew my liquid fertilizer for? How long do I let it stay in the barrel before I use it? This one is almost a month, this one is almost 2 weeks. So it really and truly depends upon you, what you want to do. But I can safely say that the longer, the better, right? If I was supposed to recommend anything at all to you, I would say at least 2 weeks. Yes, having several containers, it will create a system for you, like I said, to let you feed your plant with ease. And it is working for me. So you can have a 2 weeks barrel here, another 2 weeks, another 2 weeks, another, however you choose. That's up to you, what works for you. All right, so the other question is always, how often do I feed my plants my liquid fertilizer? I feed them every week, so once per week, right? Whilst feeding them once per week, in my containers, I do have manure inside. If you don't have access to manure, you can use compost, all right? And usually I cut up kitchen scraps and I bury in my container. I've done that in a little, but most of my containers started out with some scraps inside. Being consistent with the liquid fertilizer, my plants are just loving it. All right, so there are times when I may miss a week, but because of the consistency of the constant nutrients that becomes available to my plants, things don't turn out so bad, but they could have done better had I, continue. But as you know, sometimes life get busy, things happen, and it is just what it is. And so that is why I ensure that I do what I can do when I can do it. So yes, so every week once per week. Now, I get the question a lot of times, do I dilute my liquid fertilizer? I used to dilute my liquid fertilizer, and that was when I didn't water before adding my liquid fertilizer to my containers. So after I figured out that once I water my plants before I add the liquid fertilizer, I don't have to dilute it. The reason for diluting really is because of high concentration. It can be so concentrated that if you just go ahead and use it on your plants, it will just burn up your plants. Even though these are kitchen scraps, it doesn't matter. The longer it sits, the more concentrated it will become. All right, so yeah, I just water my plants before and then I just add the liquid fertilizer. And it has been working for me. Usually when you're doing something, you want to test it though. You want to try for yourself and see what works. If it works, you go along with it. There's no universal way to go about it, really and truly. So test, experiment, see what works for you. Use a little, see if it worked, if it didn't. So the main reason why I water before so that my soil in my containers are fully saturated. When that liquid fertilizer hit that soil, if it is concentrated, that moisture then will dilute it for me. Now, another reason is that watering before will allow the soil to absorb that liquid fertilizer easily. I feed my plants the liquid fertilizer only evening times, and that's simply because less evaporation taking place then. I don't do it in the morning knowing what type of heat, you see I'm sweating, what type of heat these plants face during the daytime, and then everything will just evaporate. So what I do when I do that in the evening, I don't water the next day. In the cooler season, I may not water even 2 days. But what I do in the mornings is I spray my plants with water. Yes, so if I fertilize this evening, tomorrow morning I spray my plants with water, like the foliage, right? And there's probably no scientific meaning behind that or explanation behind that, but I think it's just me rejuvenating my plants, and it just has been working, so I just continue to do it. All right, so yeah, so that much I would do, and then the following morning I go back to my normal routine. So I literally give it the liquid fertilizer time to sit and to just feed the soil, and once the soil is fed, the roots and the plants by extension will be fed. All right, so inside here I do have some banana water, different from the liquid fertilizer that I have. Do I still put banana peels inside the liquid fertilizer? Yes, I still do put some inside there, but I do make my banana water for my fruiting plants, and I tend to do a few buckets of these, and I tend to use my banana water a bit more often when my plants are fruiting so that they can get that extra potassium to help with their fruit production. So I prefer not to let my banana water sit for weeks or even a week. I prefer to use them in days. Now this banana water, it looks so rich. This is about 4 days old. How I use this with my liquid fertilizer is interchangeably, because if I use the liquid fertilizer today, I won't use this banana water today. I would probably use it 2 days after, and I will continue for maybe every 2 days or every 3 days. The timing is not always accurate, but yeah, I tend to use it days apart. Do I dilute my banana water? No, I don't. It's the same procedure as with my liquid fertilizer. So I use this barrel to strain, and this is a mesh that I discovered that I can use, because whatever fall on top of here, I can easily just throw it back in the container or put in the corner over there. Now, one thing I did not mention is how often do I replenish what is inside my barrels. I tend to replenish them maybe every 2 to 3 months, and what I do is I have a corner over there that I would take out these kitchen scraps. Like I have some kitchen scraps inside a bucket right here. After I take out most of what is in here, I put them over there with some soil, and then if in the future I need soil, I can use that soil because it had nutrients to that very poor soil. How do I know when? You know, when it's just look depleted, and I feel as though you will know when you want to change it. But as for me, that's basically it. Every 2 months, 2 to 3 months. So this is what I do. I'm not going to do all of this with you. I am just showing you. And this is not the container I
I
use.
use a little bucket.
I have some stuff inside here. I just wanted to show you for demonstration purposes. I hope this information was useful to you. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your abundance of support, and I send abundance of blessings to you. Until next time, walk good.
Come garden with me now, man.